This is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
Well, I spoke too soon yesterday. Welcome to the Acuff House Studio, Grand Ole Opry Plaza. Bill Cody, Zach Bennett, Charlie Mattos, and Kelly Sutton with the morning off. Andy Nyes, our studio director, making it happen. Yeah, there's Jeff Roberts. He's in master control here in the Acuff House. I had mentioned at the end of the show yesterday that Jeannie Seeley and Charlie McCoy, in an unprecedented role, would be elected president and vice president of the United States with a write-in vote. And T. Graham Brown would be like Secretary of Entertainment, Henry Cho, Secretary of Comedy, Rhonda Vincent, Secretary of Defense, if you know anything about Rhonda, how tough she is.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
None of that came true.
Well, hey, I did my part. I wrote in all those names yesterday, and I mean, you can only do what you can do, right? The American people have spoken.
So, interestingly enough, Donald Trump is president-elect again. And you remember the controversy last time was Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, but he won the Electoral College. There won't be Electoral College talk this time because he won both the Electoral College and the popular vote by about 5 million folks, it looks like, if I'm looking at the latest numbers that I have from the Associated Press.
And swept all 7 of those battleground states that have been in the news for months now.
And carried Tennessee. And you can look at the full list if you go to the web this morning, if you follow that sort of thing. Luke Combs in Category 10 give you an update on what's new downtown, the old Wild Horse Saloon location. Cody Johnson's deluxe edition of Leather, that's making news. Vocal training from Bailey Zimmerman, in his words, on a thing called Holy Smokes, which is his new single, Climb of the Charts, and a 6th number 1 for Jelly Roll. You're on Coffee, Country, and Cody. Good morning. And we'll remember Hank Thompson and Little Jimmy Dickens, and I'll tell you about that coming up. It's better to be lucky than good. And in our green room here in the new Acuff House Studio in the Grand Ole Opry Plaza, Annie Nye, Aaron in the afternoon, Aaron on air with Aaron Cooper, Easy. Eric Markham. Who was in charge of green room design, Annie, other than the 3 I just mentioned there? Kelly was big time input.
I think Lexi Carter had some input into it as well.
All right, so we have part of the wall in the green room is all vinyl from albums. So our special guest, John McEuen, was in the green room earlier, and he walks over to the vinyl wall, and what is the album? Better to be lucky than good, that is in the middle of the vinyl wall.
Right at eye level. You can't miss it.
Will the circle be unbroken?
Absolutely.
On United Artists Records.
And my brother's name is on it. William E. McEuen Presents.
And
he was a record producer.
A total cost for that album, what was it, like $25,000?
$22,000.
So they gave it to you up front and said, that's all you get? Or how did it work?
Well, Mike Stewart says, well, I'll put up some money for this, but I don't think we're not going to sell 10 of them. And he was the president of the label on Sunset Boulevard, 6920 Sunset Boulevard, L.A. And I say that because it was an L.A. record deal. We could not have made that deal, my brother and I, if we had been in Nashville, because when we did that album, we were working on it, and the Nashville Tennessean said, what the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band is doing recording with a bunch of old dinosaurs, we don't understand.
Oh, no.
And they didn't understand. But anyway, so.
So was it your brother's idea, your idea, or you kind of came to it at the same time to record with these dinosaurs?
I wanted to record with Earl Scruggs. I wanted to do Soldier's Joy with Earl Scruggs when I started playing. I had to have a band. I had a band then after a few years, and then we met Earl Scruggs, and I played with him, and I asked him 6 months after I met him, Earl, would you maybe, I had trouble asking him, would you maybe record with the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band? And he said, I'd be proud to.
Well, I'd be proud to.
Yeah.
He had that little quiver in his voice that I loved so much.
You're right. And Doc Watson was playing the same club the next night in Boulder, Colorado. And I was a little bolder with him, pardon the pun. But hi, Doc. I'm John McEuen from the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. We're doing an album with Earl Scruggs. And we weren't doing an album. Earl just said, I'd be proud to. And But my brother, who was managing and producing the group at the time, and he said, I told him that night, and he said, on Monday I'm going to call Merle Travis. Oh, do you have his number? No, but I can get it. Anyway, he got Merle Travis on Monday. Earl got Maybelle Carter on Wednesday, and Louise got Jimmy Martin on Thursday.
Louise Scruggs, that's Earl's wife.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
She was instrumental in many things Earl Scruggs did.
Yep.
And it just came together. Earl said, I found a fiddler that can handle it all. His name's Vassar Clements. And I asked him, well, can he do all the different styles? And Earl said, he'll do. So
that was his endorsement.
And it was
he'll do.
Yeah. And coming from Earl.
How did Acuff, the others that would come to the project, how did that all develop? Just
my brother saw a newspaper interview where Roy Acuff said, I'll record real country music with anyone, anywhere, anytime. And he used that as an excuse to call Wesley Rose and set up a meeting. And Wesley Rose told Roy, I think you should listen to this. And Roy, the king of country music, and both in his mind and in print, but he wasn't sure. But he came, and he was sure after he listened to some of the stuff we've recorded. He had to listen to 4 cuts. He didn't say a word. What kind of music you boys call that? And I said, well, it kind of country. My brother was waffling. He was saying, hillbilly. No, he didn't say hillbilly. Anyway, Roy says, hell, that ain't nothing but country music. Let's go make some more. And we went out and did Wreck on the Highway and a few others.
And you sit now, as you tell that story, in Roy Acuff's living room in the home that he lived in from 1984 till he passed in 1992, sitting here on the Grand Ole Opry Plaza, looking at the entrance to the Grand Ole Opry House. John McEuen. John McEuen and friends.
It is really weird, the whole thing, the whole trip.
Be.
The whole trip started because of Rodney Dillard, the guy that was in the Dillards.
Who was so instrumental in your life,
and
right?
he was in the Darlin family. They drove out to L.A. to make it, and they did. They didn't have any money, but they got on the Darlin family job on the Andy Griffith Show in the first 2 weeks, and then they played all the clubs around L.A. And I saw them one night when somebody drugged me to a club to see something called the Dillards, and it took me away. I was 17 and a half. And Rodney Dillard's going to be playing with me.
I know. I was getting to that. Go ahead and tell them about these shows you got coming up with John McEuen and friends.
Well, in Bartlett, Tennessee on the 16th and in Franklin, Tennessee on the 17th, the last 2 shows of my year of playing are going to be with Justin David, a fine fiddle player.
Okay.
And Danny Nicely, great guitar player. He plays like he's like a Billy Strings kind of guy. You know Mike Bubb?
Absolutely. Old Bubby. He may be up listening to us this morning.
The current Nashville junior Husky.
It's a great endorsement.
Yeah. Well, he's
and Rodney, you mentioned, will be there.
And Becky Buller,
whom I just saw at my Walk of Fame induction. She was so sweet and took tons of pictures last week. Becky was there, so I'm so happy to see this.
She's a great fiddler. I'm looking forward to playing with her, and Rodney's going to come sing some of the songs that got me infected in music.
Infected.
Got me. I got a virus.
The Newsman, A Man of Record, is your most recent album, and we're going to feature with John McEuen. Continue our conversation here in the Acuff House living room. Perfect place to sit down with John.
This is a recording that I really wanted to do for 40 years.
Yeah.
Because I heard it in 1963. And
who did it originally?
Walter Brennan.
Okay, that's how I remembered it. That's the version I know. I didn't know if anybody else did it.
And I wasn't going to touch this because Walter Brennan had a masterful piece. But I went, well, nobody's heard it. And people maybe want to hear it again, and I'll just do it a little bit different. And I did this. I knocked it out in 3 hours last year.
Old Rivers with John McEuen is on Coffee, Country, and Cody.
This is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
John McEuen in studio with us this morning in the Acuff House. What was the living room? Mr. Acuff's place here. It sits on the Grand Ole Opry Plaza, and our new studio home for about 3 months. John McEuen telling those great stories of Will the Circle Be Unbroken, which is now 53 years old. We were talking about during the break. We heard you doing...
We did it 53 years ago.
Old Rivers.
That's right.
We're now going to name you Old Rivers, the newsman, a man of record. Your most recent album contains that cut. And you gave a backstory off the air to me about Walter Brennan's original, which was...
Yeah, Leon Russell played piano on it. And it was made it to number 3 on the pop chart in 1963. And I fell in love with that song, and I wasn't even playing music yet.
Yeah.
I didn't play for another year or two, but that was always in my mind. One of these days, I'm going to climb that mountain. And,
Well, Bartlett, Tennessee on the 16th, Franklin Theater on the 17th to wrap up your tour year 2024. And
yeah, I'm going to have special guest Rodney Dillard. I can't wait because...
Yeah.
The first time I saw Rodney was like 85, 90 years ago, it seems like.
So where did you grow up? Where did you spend your
Garden
formative?
Grove, California.
And was your family musical? Was it always a part of your life? No?
My mom and dad used to sing Broadway musicals on Sunday when we'd go for a drive.
So give me that moment in time at McCabe's when the illegitimate jug band that would become the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, when you became a part of that whole scene.
It started out for me with the Wilmore City Moonshiners. Me and Les Thompson had a bluegrass group. And that came together with the illegitimate jug band, which was Jeff and a couple other people, and Jimmy Fadden, and then that became the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
And wasn't Jackson Brown a part of that, like for a moment in time in the early days?
I can't speak for that because he was there for 5 shows. He used the band to back up his songs, and it's not in his bio. It's not on his website. He never got a check. There's not a publicity photo.
We never paid him, so
we weren't making any money. Pizza and all you could drink, and that was the pay then. But Jackson's a good guy, and Jeff recorded some of his songs on the first, the second album. And anyway, he's a friend of the band for sure.
Well, it's John McEuen and Friends. Those dates I mentioned on the 16th and 17th in Bartlett and in Franklin, respectively. Rodney Dillard, whom you referenced, Mike Bubb, Justin David, Danny Nicely, and Becky Buller.
Yeah.
Will be joined. Those are the friends that will be joining you on stage.
I got friends I haven't even used yet.
So, Josie, Lifetime Achievement Award winner.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
What does one get for Lifetime Achievement from the Josie Awards?
I don't know what you get out of it. I know that you got from it a little glass thing about a foot tall that said, I don't know, it makes a good tombstone. A lifetime achievement. I'm not too sure. I'm not done yet. I just put out a book called The Mountain Whippoorwill.
I'm glad I was headed that direction, but you beat me to it, so I'll go ahead and hold it up for publicity purposes.
Oh, well, go right ahead.
Because you said, do you have any grandchildren? I have 2.
Well, it's good. You can download on the back. It tells you where to go to SoundCloud and whatever to download the version I did of Mountain Whippoorwill that goes along with the book. This is the poem that I did with the Dirt Band for 30 or 40 years, every night, and it was really fun. It's an illustrated book, a children's book for adults.
Well, speaking of books, Will the Circle Be Unbroken? We referenced its 53rd anniversary. You did a book about that for the 50th anniversary, which is still available.
The making of a landmark album. It has my brother's 105 pictures of the sessions, plus early photos of the Dirt Band leading up to the sessions. And that is that took several. You know what I found out when I was working on that? My brother passed away, and it slowed me down for a while, but then I got back into it, and I'm studying it, and I found out that the first recording of Circle Be Unbroken was in 1915, and my brother's name was William McEuen, and it was by a guy in 1915 in England named William McEuen.
No way, spelled the same way?
No.
Okay.
One letter different.
Okay.
And it was really, but that was freaky to me. It's like, no! What else have I not read or seen?
All right, as we close this morning, John again.
Let me out of here.
He's got dates to wrap up his 2024 tour season in Bartlett on the 16th, Franklin Theater on the 17th, just a few days away. And it's John and Friends. Rodney Dillard, Mike Bob, Justin David, Danny Nicely, Becky Buller. The book, The Mountain Whippoorwill, which I referenced. And as we close, give me a backstory on Long Hard Road from the Rodney Crowell collection.
I was sitting at home and a tape showed up. Rodney Crowell had sent our manager a tape, Chuck Morris, and he sent it up to me, and it was a tape of Rodney Crowell and Roseanne Cash singing Long Hard Road, and that sounded like a hit, just the two of them and the guitar.
I gotta believe.
But with a little note, would the Dirt Band consider doing this? And I took it to the rehearsal we were having in Evergreen, and Jimmy Ibbotson latched onto that song like he wrote it, and he sang it from the heart. I played guitar in D tuning, open D tuning, and
you said it was maybe one of a handful of times that you
one of 6 or 7 times when Ibby started singing and I'm playing the guitar that I went, this will be coming out of the radio. Just wait.
Boy, did it ever.
And it just fell together. I played banjo and mandolin on it also, and but the open tuning guitar was really fun. And his voice was great to play to.
And it had a parenthetical title. A lot of people don't know. It's called Long Hard Road, The Sharecropper's Dream, from John McEuen and the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. Thanks so much, old friend, for coming to see me this morning.
Thank you, Cody.
All right.
More Coffee, Country, and Cody is on WSM.
Welcome in here, Larry Stewart, to the Acuff House living room. And you sat down there on wood, by the way. That stage that you sit on is wood from the Ryman Auditorium, the same wood that the Circle in the Opry House is from. Yeah.
How cool is that?
Huh?
But I love this place.
And you looked out the window and you go, oh, that's where we are.
So it's the other side of the Grand Ole Opry House that I've never been to. I come through. They only let me through the back door.
Several artists have sat down and done the same thing and go, you know what? I've never, ever paid any attention to the entrance to the Grand Ole Opry because we come in backstage at the artist entrance under the portico and make our way in.
Yeah.
So when would have been the first time you did that? Would it have been a Ryman show? Would it have been an Opry show here at the Opry House? Because the Opry House obviously just turned 50, but we would do seasonal shows at the Ryman. When would Restless have done that?
I think that it was probably, we did it once before we broke up in the early 90s. We got back together in around 2000, and Pete Fisher asked us to come out and do one, and then we started doing it all the time. As you well know, you got tired of probably seeing us there for a while.
Never.
But, yeah, we did it quite a bit, and loved doing the Opry.
Well, now you're doing Christmas at Gaylord Opryland as a part of rotation with Terry Clark this year, a little something different for folks. Let me pull it up here. If you go to Christmas at GaylordOpryland.Marriott.com, it'll all come up. First face you will see will be that of Terry Clark on your left. Then there's Richie McDonald, a guy named Larry Stewart, and a guy named Pim Rushlow. And you guys are sharing the billing over Christmas this year.
Yeah, we're doing, I mean, she's doing the bulk of the shows, but we're doing, you know, like Monday and Tuesday.
You're doing November 25th, 26th, December 2nd, 3rd, December 14, 15, 16. And they got you working Christmas Day, 23, 24, 25.
Oh, man, we're going to make it a family affair, man. We're going to having all the kids. We're going to come out and enjoy the show and stay at the hotel and do the water park the next morning.
Oh, are you going to Sound Waves?
Right.
Great. So have you ever come to see anybody else's residency, Christmas residency through the years?
Came to see the Gatlins.
Okay.
I came to see the Oaks once.
Okay. Because, you know, Louise Mandrell did it. Lori Morgan has done it.
I never
Daryl
did come
Worley.
see him. Yeah, I know it. No, I never did. Yeah. It's too far. I mean, I'd have to drive 45 minutes. So,
being an athlete, a former athlete, did you see where the Titans had signed Daryl Worley?
No. What?
It's a different Daryl Worley, but his last name is spelled the same. The Daryl is spelled differently. Yeah, that's what I said. But he was a quarterback, and I told Zach when he had the story earlier, I said, no. Our Daryl Worley is a tight end. He's not a cornerback.
Our Daryl Worley is like 6'7".
He's the perfect tight end. I know if you've seen that story this morning or not. So catch me up when we talk about Christmas at Gaylord Opryland. It's the front men who are doing this show. And it's made up of the three of you I referenced earlier, in addition to Terry Clark. How did that whole thing come together?
I'm not really sure how. I mean, we've been wanting a shot at doing some shows here for this country Christmas thing at Opryland for a couple of years now. And our booking agency beat them up enough to apparently Terry, I don't guess, wanted to do, the full. Restless Heart did it. I don't know if you remember that, back in 16 or something like that, 14. We did 41 shows. Whew, that wore me out.
So you understood why she didn't want to do them all.
Right. So we're doing 10, and she's doing the rest, and we love Terry. But we're not, people think we're sharing the stage with her because of the way some of the promotions are, but we're not. We're doing separate nights.
The frontman idea,
which is Richie McDonald, the great voice of Lone Star, the hits, and Tim Rushlow, the hit voice of Little Texas,
and Larry Stewart, the hit voice of Restless Heart,
the voice of Restless Heart.
Wait, I mean, you had at least a half dozen number ones, and
with exactly how many number ones we've had?
26, I think, if my memory serves, something like 26 big old hit records that were top 10, top 5 records.
Yes, sir.
So you had a lot to be proud of.
Oh, a lot, yeah.
I read the story. I wanted to share it with you because I didn't know if you knew it was on the web, so it must be true. At the time, this was back in the early days of the band, Stewart was working as a demo vocalist, in addition to working in the stock rooms at the Country Music Hall of Fame and mowing lawns at Nashville offices of BMI. True?
True. Joe Mascao had me come over there to empty the trash and mow if I had to. And then I was working at MCA Music with Jerry Crutchfield. So I was
singing
doing
demo?
a little bit of that and singing demos and working at the Country Music Hall of Fame. And
did you have a push mower or a riding mower?
It was a push.
It was.
They didn't trust me on a riding lawnmower. And I had the big hill. Remember the old BMI?
Oh, yeah.
Big, and the fountains out there. Yeah. No riding lawnmower on that thing.
And a lot of people may not know, but Verlin Thompson was the original lead vocalist. Am I right? For Restless Heart?
He was.
And how did he left the band and you got the call first?
Verlin, they even cut some songs, some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And Verlin's wife at the time.
That's how you
before Demetria.
Yeah, that's how you know you're a big time country star. My wife at the time
did not want him to be in a band. She refused. After they'd gone through all of that, she made him quit. I guess she probably wanted him to be a solo artist. And so they needed a lead singer. So I knew Dave Ennis from Belmont. We had done a couple of little sessions together.
And Dave, people will know, is the piano player for Restless Heart.
Right. And Greg Jennings, the amazing guitar player for Restless Heart. We had run into each other doing sessions up and down Music Row. And I did not know John and Paul, the drummer and bass player, but they were in a little band together. But anyway, Tim Dubois pulled all these Okies together, and I'm not from Oklahoma.
I was going to say, that's how a boy from Paducah, Kentucky wound up in the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame.
Can you believe that? And I told him that night, I said, you know what, I'm not from Oklahoma, but Oklahoma's been so good to me because so many people from Oklahoma have been a part of my career. So I'm not from Oklahoma, but I'm proud to be an Okie from Kentucky.
You're on Coffee, Country, and Cody. We continue with Larry Stewart of the Front Men, celebrating Christmas at Gaylord Opryland 2020.
From WSM Radio, this is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
And tomorrow night, Kelly Sutton, whose birthday is today, by the way, she and I will flip the switch and make it official, the lighting annual lighting of A Country Christmas at Gaylord Opryland 2024. That'll feature the Frontmen, and Larry Stewart, representing the Frontmen, is in studio with us this morning, and they will share that bill this year with Terry Clark. And
Do I get to throw the switch tomorrow?
You could come do it. We kind of do it together.
So we all get on there?
Usually some kids from Monroe Carroll Jr., the Children's Hospital, they come, they choose some kids that are dealing with things and want to help them celebrate, and they come help us get that done. So we get there around 5, but we usually flip the switch. The ceremony, if you will, starts about 5:30 to 6, all in, all done. And then I'll head over for Opry Country Classics with Larry Gatlin tomorrow night. So looking back, we were talking about the coming together of the front men, having been just that, front men for very successful country bands through the years. Yours so much so, I believe Restless would be 40 this year, right?
Yep. January coming up in 2 months, we released Let the Heartache Ride, our very first single. And we didn't look back after that. We rocked forward for a long time.
So where is everybody these days? The band not doing band shows anymore?
No.
Okay.
No, John Dietrich moved to Arizona, sold all his drums, and Greg, our guitar player, I don't think he's doing anything. He's just relaxing. Mm-hmm. And the other two guys, Dave moved to Waco, I think.
Dave Ennis, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Last I heard, anyway.
Yeah, and Paul Gregg's still here in town.
Okay.
I don't think he's playing music right now.
And you're playing full-time grandfather, in addition to the frontmen shows, to 4 boys and no girls, you say?
Full-time grandfather, part-time artist. I only work on weekends.
Well, let me tell you. I can tell you where you're going to be between now and Christmas at Gaylord Opryland.
Exactly.
Let's see. Friday night, you will be in Mount Vernon, Kentucky, at the Renfro Valley, the new Barn Theater there. Sydney, Ohio, the next night at Sydney High School. You'll be playing Tuck's Bar. That's on the 10th in Minor Hill, Tennessee.
Coolest little bar you ever saw.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Augusta, Georgia, doing a radio station event there on the 12th. Biloxi, Mississippi at the Hard Rock on the 16th. And then you get a break for about a week and a half before you have your first stint on the 25th as a part of A Country Christmas at Gaylord Opryland. 25th and 26th are your first 2 nights. You'll be back on December 2nd and 3rd, 14, 15, 16, and 23, 24, 25. Yes, they will be there, the front men, on Christmas Day, sharing that bill with Terry
This
Clark.
is my favorite. This is my favorite right here, Christmas music.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever share a bill with Terry Clark in the day out on the road? Did she ever open for you guys? Because you would have been big stars.
I've done a radio show a couple of times.
All right.
I don't think we ever shared the stage at all. I don't think. Huh. Isn't that weird? You'd think after all these years that we would have, but.
You ever look back and wonder what if you'd had a successful baseball career? Were you good enough at one point in time that you thought, I could play at least minor league
That
ball?
was my dream.
Who would it have been? Who would you want to play?
St. Louis Cardinals.
Well, you're rocking that this morning, so I kind of thought.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's really Larry Stewart. See? See how that works? Larry Stewart.
I had never, ever made that connection.
Well, you will now.
I'll never forget it. I'll never see it again.
You'll never see St. Louis again, will you?
I'll just see Larry Stewart's face. Little icon pop up right there where the St. Louis logo is.
Oh, no, man. I grew up just, well, baseball brought me here. Baseball.
Belmont, right?
Belmont, right. I was playing for a junior college up in Kentucky, and my dad was friends with some people there that I'd mentioned earlier, and they called Coach Witten at Belmont University. We got this young man coming to play at Volunteer State. That's when they had a baseball program, and we seen him play. We would love to get him to Nashville, and was wondering if anybody could come watch him play. Well, Coach Witten came with his assistant head coach and watched me play. I hit 2 home runs in one game. I'd never hit 2 home runs in one game in my life. And talked to them afterwards. Long story short, they offered me a partial scholarship to come to Belmont, and that's when I met a bunch of cool people, incredibly talented people like Gordon Kennedy and Dan Huff, and on and on and on and on.
But you're already singing while you're playing ball?
No.
No? Really?
No. I played ball, and I really wasn't singing until my buddy Joey Mosqueo, the son of Joe, told some people, and so they threw me in the studio at Belmont and had me sing some stuff, and they went, "Whoa, you can sing. Okay, can you sing? Can you do my session? Can you do my, my project and this, that, and the other?" And then some people on Music Row heard me, and I made a living there for a few years, singing demos and working at the Country Music Hall of Fame.
We're going to close with Old Toy Trains, which is particularly special. This is a Restless Heart version of Old Toy Trains.
Yeah, well, this is one that you don't hear a lot of people do. And we put it on our Restless Heart CD. And, Roger Miller is one of the great geniuses of all time. And I love his songwriting. And
1967 was the original.
The simplicity of his writing and of this song to make it so special. We recorded it, and it's just one of my favorite recordings that we ever done.
And that's where we'll close this morning. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thanks for having me.
And I looked at the list of people who have recorded it in addition to Restless Heart. We mentioned Roger, who had the original. Glenn Campbell has an incredible version. The Statler Brothers. The late Toby Keith cut it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. How well did you know Toby with the Oklahoma connection with the band?
Pretty well. And then now, we did share the stage and did some stuff. We did his fundraiser out there in Oklahoma once or twice. And, yeah, he was a good dude, a crazy dude, and we loved him.
All right, let's catch up on a few top stories in entertainment this morning. And then straight ahead, we got music from Keith Urban, Grand Ole Opry member. Grand Ole Opry member Luke Combs, Category 10, a hurricane has hit Nashville as of Saturday. It's open for business. It is 67,000 square feet if you've not been. It's in the old Wild Horse Saloon location, the former location there on 2nd Avenue. And when I came to town, that was the place to be. Really, it was about the only thing of its kind in Nashville at the time, certainly on Lower Broadway, the Wild Horse. And it has 6 bars, 3 stages, 4 entertainment spaces. And come early 2025, sometime when the weather warms up, we'll go up on the rooftop. And the rooftop is 7,000 square feet.
And what's cool about it is the entire interior has been redone. It's not just the Wild Horse with a new name. I mean, when you walk in the front door now, you're in the middle of a honky-tonk instead of a gift shop.
Well,
so it's a really, really cool experience.
You can see Luke bragging on his part in it. Instagram, of course, we're partnering with him at Ryman Hospitality Properties with Luke Combs, Opry member. Instagram, he has it all. Photos in the venue and performance snapshots when he was there over the weekend. Category 1010.com. That's how you type it in. Clint Eastwood, I wanted to share this story. His movie, Juror Number 2, is debuting on Max around December. He's given his blessing to that release rather than, I think it had a limited run at the box office. But Juror Number 2, at age 94, will probably be the final film for Clint Eastwood. Just an incredible story. Juror Number 2, critics who've seen it have given it a 91% score on Rotten Tomatoes, if you follow them. Jelly Roll, he is okay. I know the single is his 6th number 1. I am not okay, but he is very okay with that 6th number 1. Lead single off his album Beautifully Broken, which is out now. There's a song on there called Winning Streak that he got at an AA meeting he was attending. And he said he rarely ever speaks when he goes. He just goes and attends and listens. And somebody was there for the first time talking to somebody who was 20 years sober at the meeting. And the guy who was 20 years sober turned to the new guy and said, "Hey, Hoss, welcome. Nobody comes in here on a winning streak." Well, Jelly committed that to memory, and there's a song called Winning Streak on there that I think will probably be that next. It's got to be a single off this album. Please release that. People need to hear it. Tickets to Jelly's upcoming Beautifully Broken tour are available right now. Jelly Roll 615 is where you go. What else to catch up on? Runaway June making news. They have a video coming soon with their Christmas Mary Did You Know song. They've already released it. You can get the song wherever you get your music, but the video will be coming soon. And making me look good again, singer Drake White. Well, he's teamed with 3 Chord Bourbon for their newly launched collection, The Spirit of the Storyteller. Drake's take says, crafted and mastered with the same care as every note we play. Best enjoyed fireside, but made to be savored anywhere on God's green earth. Raise a glass and let the story begin. You can check out more at drakewhite.3chordbourbon.com.
It seems like every time I'm in here, we're doing a story about a country singer doing some kind of alcohol promotion. I think, Bill, you and I ought to go into the business and we'll call it WSM, and we'll go, We Still Millions. How about that?
And Nico Moon, just a quick note, you wonder where he's been? Well, I tell you where he's been working on new music, and it's coming out. These Are the Nights. It's coming out on November 22nd. It's an EP, and the first single off it is called Money Can't Buy, and there are 3 new songs on there. And you're up to date on Kelly Sutton's birthday today on entertainment. She will be back tomorrow. So will Charlie Mattos. And we close with Grand Ole Opry star Keith Urban and Mark Chestnut with Almost Goodbye. And this is Goodbye. For Zach Bennett, Annie Nye, Jeff Roberts, I'm Bill Cody. Coffee, Country, and Cody, good morning.